Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So last video was a little bit depressing. It was a little bit of a black pill, but now today we're going to be talking about the good results that took place on Tuesday, mainly out of the state of Texas, as well as we're going to cover the fact about how Beto O'Rourke decided to sabotage his campaign in one of the most pathetic, disgraceful, classless ways possible. Kind of get into some of the more recent events taking place in the state of Texas as well. But we have to talk about first the Attorney General runoff primary, because Ken Paxton had everything stacked against him. He has a lot of scandals. He's based, but he had a lot of scandals, and we like Ken Paxton. Would I preferred Louis Gohmert over Ken Paxton? Yeah, I think he would be a little bit less of a liability, despite being like equally as based on all the issues, you could say. And I am pretty confident that if he made a runoff with Ken Paxton, which he almost did, that he actually would have been able to defeat Ken Paxton. However, Ken Paxton got put into a runoff with George P. Bush, the last Bush. He's the last Bush in power, and he's the Texas Land Commissioner, statewide elected official out of the state of Texas. A lot of people have been saying that George P. Bush would have been the next Bush to seek the presidency. And ironically enough, he is the best Bush, but I mean, that doesn't mean anything. That's not saying a whole lot. That's like having the least bad STD. It's like, okay, well, you're still technically going to have some problems there. But beyond that point, he lost. Not only did he lose like by 5, he got destroyed statewide. He couldn't even get a third of the vote. This was embarrassing for the neocons, an embarrassing performance for the Republican establishment, especially in Texas, because a lot of people will say the Texas GOP is full of RINOs and neocons, and to an extent it is. I mean, you had the disappointing result out of the 63rd House runoff primary for the Texas State House, but beyond that point, Ken Paxton utterly went out there and destroyed George P. Bush so bad to the point where he only won 5 counties out of like the 230 counties in the state of Texas. And like 2 of them have like no people in them. One of them was, I believe, Austin, and the other 2 were in South Texas, where Bush performed extremely well in the first round of the primary. I mean, he was taking a lot of those counties in South Texas. However, not this time. No, Ken Paxton, the Trump endorsee, ended up winning big. And he actually got a higher percentage in the runoff than Greg Abbott ended up getting in the first round for his primary. So that should tell you everything about Ken Paxton. I have zero qualms about him winning in November. Democrats are delusional enough to believe that they're going to be able to knock him off. It probably won't even be within 5 at the end of the day, especially now that the governor's race is probably going to be, I don't even know. We were saying R+15 before. I think Beto is doing everything in his power to lose by 20. So beyond that point, there was another statewide primary for the Republican Party where the RINO, the Lolbert, lost big. Sarah Stogner. I mean, she did ads topless. She was essentially trying to, I don't even know who she was trying to appeal to, but yeah, real conservative of Sarah Stogner to do advertisements where she's topless and to basically be like the OnlyFans thought running for railroad commissioner. I mean, railroad, she gets railed quite a bit, apparently. Maybe that's what she thought the position was for. I'm not entirely sure, but she's a total liberal. There's no place for people like this in conservatism. There's no place for people like this in the Republican Party. And you could see that it's not even just the nudity. Like, she's putting her pronouns in her signature. I don't even know what app this is, but she tweeted this out. It says Sarah Stogner, she/her, basically saying to go out there and vote for her. She was thanking people on this app using that as her signature. So she apparently uses pronouns. So these people are no different than the left. I think they're worse than the left because they're very subversive. They come into the conservative movement and they push this social liberalism where it's only about the free market and low taxes and nothing else. They think that that's what conservatism is, and it's not. Look, I like oil and I like low taxes, which were some of the things that she was campaigning on. However, that's not what conservatism is about. It's not. And if you're going to be going out there and doing, performing these lewd acts in your commercials or whatever, it's like, no, this needs to be condemned. This needs to be called out. This person cannot win. And on top of that, she's implementing the alphabet agenda in her campaign in a very subtle manner. One of the most annoying changes to social norms that the left has been pushing in this country for the past 10 years, the pronouns. And she's using that openly, on this app as her signature. It's disgraceful. There's no place for people like this in the Republican Party. And thankfully, the voters agreed and she completely got destroyed. She actually performed better than George P. Bush, which is ironic, but that's really beside the point. But 2 RINOs lost, 1 neocon, 1 Lolbertarian, got destroyed in Texas. You love to see it, absolutely, because Texas has that reputation within the Republican Party. And even in suburban Dallas and suburban Houston and to a lesser extent San Antonio, you saw that the America First candidate, Ken Paxton, despite his scandals, which, are there, but he's very good on the issues. I support him wholeheartedly. He won big, especially because he was supported big in the major metro areas, which have kind of turned a little bit away from Republicans in recent years. But I think Democrats might hit a wall when they realize that a lot of the voters in those places that are suburbanites are actually evangelicals, and they, even if they, may have a college education, they're not going to break for the Dems like a lot of these, voters in Virginia or Georgia, where Democrats are still going to probably continue to gain in future cycles. So that is true. There's a higher floor for Republicans in these suburbs among white suburbanites than I think a lot of people really think. And a lot of people in Texas, they still love guns, God, and oil. And Democrats, as Trump said, and this is so true because he brings it up every time he talks about Texas, they have turned completely against it. And one of those issues is guns. You had a horrible tragedy happen in Uvalde, Texas. A very mentally disturbed individual, we're not going to name him, went into a school. Well, he actually shot his own grandmother first, went into a school and killed, I believe, close to 20 children. A disgraceful situation. And of course, the reaction from the left was not rest in peace to the victims. It was not thoughts and prayers or anything like that before they went on their whole political gun-grabbing spree. No, Beto O'Rourke and many other people, instantly, when this came out, Gavin Newsom, they were tweeting out the fact that, we need to crack down on guns. The blood is on the hands of the Republicans. It's on Greg Abbott's hands. And I'm not a fan of Greg Abbott. I supported Huffines in the primary, but you see these people going out here and acting like this, and it's just, they're making a fool out of themselves completely. They think that that is going to resonate with people in Texas, and it's not. And Beto O'Rourke decided to do this at a press conference that Greg Abbott was holding in Uvalde with a lot of, I believe, the parents of the victims. And we're going to play this right here because this is just an absolute display of just classlessness. And this is his political Hail Mary. He thinks that going out there and doing this is going to help him somehow, he's, taking a stand. No, he's not. It may have just made people that are emotional and maybe a little bit sympathetic towards his horrific gun policy probably turn away from him because that's how bad it was. We're going to play this here.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Sit down.
You're out of line and an embarrassment.
Sit down and don't play this stuff.
The next shooting is right now, and you are doing nothing.
No, he needs to get his ass out of here. This isn't the place to talk this over.
This is totally predictable when you...
Sir, you're out of line. Sir, you are out of line. Sir, you are out of line. Please leave this auditorium.
So basically, Beto O'Rourke goes up to this panel. He steps up here. He's being a heckler. And this is basically a press conference for the victims. They're talking about the situation and probably talking about solutions, real solutions, because taking people's guns away is not going to solve the problem regardless how many times. And the left has lost the gun debate. It's very evident that they have because they keep going around in circles. It really proves who's winning that gun debate. But either way, he goes out there and does this. Yeah, it's disgraceful. He's being called out by the sheriff. You love the sheriff for doing that. And you look at this and you see, hey, he's trying to sabotage himself at this point. If this was his Hail Mary, you think that one of his handlers or one of his staffers would be able to step in. And it's as bad as the right drops the ball on everything as they do, Like, the Democrats are even more incompetent at times, which is why I think we're going to have a chance at saving this country at the end of the day. But that's beside the point. You hear all of these arguments for gun control. You hear them. They'll say, oh, this only happens in America. Therefore, the blood is on the hands of the people that support the right of millions of Americans to lawfully bear arms. But is it even like an American problem? And they're focusing on Texas now. The last two mass shootings that happened in Buffalo, New York, and California. And those states have a lot of gun control. They are run by the left. They have a lot of gun control, comparatively speaking. Yet they think like this gun control legislation is actually going to help anything or stop these mass shootings. It's not. And they say that, oh, it's an American problem. But America, when it comes to mass shootings, is not even in the top 10 countries for mass shooting deaths. This was a comprehensive study that was, all this data that was compiled from 2009 to 2015. And even if you look at the new numbers, it's roughly around the same because Norway leads both. Norway. Strict gun control in Norway, strict gun control in all of these places except Switzerland. And even their gun laws are more restrictive than most, if not all, states in the United States. So how does this exactly add up? They'll say there's almost 300 school shootings so far in 2022. But look at the actual data. Like, all of those shootings except like two were like a security guard fires a gun in the parking lot, not even during school hours. Like, that's the type of thing that adds to their data points. It's absolutely ridiculous. They don't care about the problem. They just want control. And it's called gun control for a reason. They want to control you. They want to control the law-abiding citizens' right to bear arms so they could exert that control over people. That's really what it is. They basically hang this gun control thing over people's heads every time a mass shooting happens. They have never really been in a position to enact any gun control legislation, at least in a while, but this is very true. I mean, you had less restrictive gun legislation in the 1950s all the way to the 1980s, and there were no mass shootings. So that should tell you something, that it's a people problem. It's a cultural problem. It's not a gun problem. Guns save lives. If you look at the defensive gun use versus violent use by firearms, it is a ridiculous disparity. You see how many people get saved per year by guns. I mean, this graph doesn't fully quantify that, but there are almost 3 million uses of defensive gun use, where bad gun use is far below 500,000. And a lot of those are just robberies with illegal guns. It's not like gun control is necessarily going to stop that. And the murder rate is far, far lower than 500,000 murders per year. I mean, you look at it, it's probably like closer to, I believe, like 20, 30,000. I'm not entirely sure what the numbers are there, but that's beside the point. The bottom line is the fact that there's also no security. And if there is security, they don't do their job. In the shooting that happened in Parkland, security didn't do their job. The guy got fired. The guy got charged. In this case, it was 3-on-1. And for some reason, they couldn't stop the shooter despite it being 3-on-1. That is a security problem. We need better security. We arm security for Ukraine, but not for our own children. Really, this is the way it is. And they want to come after your guns thinking it's going to solve the problem. It's really not. Again, most of the guns, or most of the crime, the violent crime that happens in America is gang crime. And those guns are already illegal in many cases. In most cases, the guns are acquired illegally. And you will see that happen again. They'll say, but my buyback, my Australian buyback. But New Zealand didn't have a buyback, and they saw a similar drop in crime. So maybe it was just the crime drop in the 1990s. And even then, the buyback in Australia is kind of overrated because a lot of people were not actually required to turn in their guns. I think they only turned in like half of them or whatever. So that's beside the point. But also the shooters, one of the shooters' guns was illegal. And, you can't carry a handgun. You can't have a handgun until you're 21 in Texas. Actually, I think that law is dumb. Obviously, it didn't stop this. If anything, it should just be 18, you could say. But beyond that point, it's like, how would gun control have really stopped this? It wouldn't. That's the psyop. They want to control you. That's all it is. How do you actually stop it? You arm teachers that are legally, lawfully trained because they are the ones that can protect their students. Obviously, you need better security. Like I said, get rid of gun-free zones. Like 98.7% of mass shootings occur in gun-free zones. It's ridiculous. And then you have the big pharma problem. You have isolation culture with social media. We are creating a society of sick individuals that we did not have 50 or 60 years ago. We have to return because a lot of people are dying in these kinds of things, and gun control is not going to solve the problem. We have to solve the problem But you're not going to do that by taking guns away. In fact, guns arguably, if you look at graphs like this, could very well be part of the solution. And Texans know this. We know that Beto O'Rourke is going to get utterly destroyed this November, and it will be glorious. And there's no issue that galvanizes the right more than guns. It is true. There are a lot of gun owners. A lot of them don't exactly vote all the time, but they are higher in number than you think. And they will come out in November to defend their right to bear arms because they love guns, as they rightfully should. It's fun. AR-15s are great. If they're going to come after our AR-15s, what exactly are you going to shoot at the range? You're going to have less fun. It's an easy, lightweight weapon. It's epic. It really is. It's fun to shoot, and it's great for self-defense. There's no reason why these guns need to be banned. You had a time where we basically had like automatic machine guns legal, and you had no mass shootings. So banning the guns are not going to do anything. And Texans know this. It's a losing issue. Look at polls on it. It's practically 50-50, but the ones that are energized are on the right, and we know this, so keep that in mind for November. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. Join the website and buy the merch. The links are in the pinned comment. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.